Welcome back. In part two, we're going to take about 5 minutes and just do a real quick introduction on how you can use third-party JavaScript frameworks when developing Windows 8 Metro style applications. So if you want to use something like jQuery, Knockout, JS Render, etc., this will give you a quick idea on how you would do that. To get started, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and add the appropriate files for the various frameworks into my project. I need to do this because the security sandbox is different, so I can't just reference these files from within my web page out to a CDN. I actually have to come out here and select the source. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a version of jQuery here and grab JS Render and add that into my project. The other thing to be aware of is when working with things this way, by and large everything's going to work fine, but you may find on the very tail ends of the bell curve in some more esoteric scenarios, you may find some errors because of the differences in the way we handle security between the traditional browser and inside of Metro. By and large, you probably won't hit most of those issues, but just to be aware, you may have to fix something, tweak something. Sometimes it's very minor, sometimes it's a little more involved. But what we're going to do is go ahead and add these script files into my page, just like I would in any other web application. And then we'll just do a real quick example here. We're going to come into the script and we're going to go ahead and just do a real quick modification and say, okay, let's go ahead and find demo button. Let's go ahead and wire up the click event and say I want to now call do something as part of my application. And obviously I could update this into jQuery as well if I wanted to. Go ahead and run this on my local machine. Go ahead and click me, and now you can see I'm running this application using jQuery. Now we can take this a step further and do something really cool, maybe leverage render.js. So let's come back into my page HTML. And what I'm going to do right here is, again, using some code snippets, is I'm going to stick in a template for Twitter. Okay, and so if you look at this is just a template, a JS render template that's just going to create a div, wrap it in a class called tweet, and we're going to pull down an image, or render each template with an image and the text. And I'm just going to do a little render template data binding here to say I want to go ahead and grab the source from the profile user, profile image URL, and then we'll go ahead and put the whoever the person was that's speaking in there as well inside of a bolded element here as well, and we'll render that. Okay, now what we'll do is switch back and let's go ahead and update do something now. And again, I'll cheat, save a little time, and I'm going to go ahead and put in some code like this. Now, what are we looking at here? Here we're still using jQuery. We're going to use its getJSON function. We're going to go out and hit Twitter, do a search on Windows 8. We'll just return 20 responses in this case. We'll wait for the response to finish. We're going to go ahead and use jQuery again to say, go find me the target element. I want to set its HTML to using the tweet template we defined earlier, and then we'll use JS Render and say, hey, here's the tweets, which are the results from the response we get from Twitter, and go ahead and render that. So now if we take a look at this and say, click me, you can see all of a sudden we get this real, somewhat decent, but certainly not very pretty, output from Twitter and being rendered. Well, again, we can go back into our style sheet now, and let's go ahead and just add in some more CSS. And so now what we've done is we've added in some things here to go ahead and style up our output area here, our target div. So we'll have a scroll bar, help set its width a little bit to make things lay out better. We'll go ahead and apply some styles to the various elements of the template. And now if we run this, you will see that I can come in here and say, click me. And now we get a much nicer layout. Now again, I'm having to do all the work here to come up with my layout. As you see, as we move into the Win.js portions of the talk, you get a lot more interesting capabilities if you use some of the built-in things. I shouldn't say more interesting, just easier to get up and running because we give you some default layout and control capabilities. So that is a real quick, dirty introduction to starting to use some third-party frameworks if you want to inside of your Metro applications.